Hey everybody, it's Odin, and today I wanted to make a short introductory video for people who may be new to Exanima, or are just kind of confused, kind of running into a wall when they're trying to master the controls. So let's just get right to a few tips here that I think will be important. So the first thing that I would like to say is some people will describe Exanima as some sort of physics game or wacky physics game. It's not one of those games where the controls are supposed to be difficult and that's part of the gameplay. The controls are somewhat difficult to learn at first, but once you learn them, it becomes very easy to execute the movements that you would like to execute. So it's really not in the same arena, and that's kind of a personal pet peeve of mine. When people are like, "Oh, is this? It's kind of like some Q-op thing." No, it's not. Okay, it's not. All right, so next thing I'll mention is going to the settings. There's two keybind changes that I would recommend. I am in no way saying that these are superior keybinds and this is the way to play. I'm just saying this is how I do it. Basically what I do is go to controls, and cursor look is the first one. Cursor look, I've set that to space. What this does is it centers the camera behind you at any time. Alright, so when you're fighting, when you're moving around, exploring, if the camera is not in a preferable position, you just hit space. It's real easy to get to, and the other one is alternate attack, which I have switched to Q. Alternate attack is how you stab. Okay, so stabbing is extremely important when using swords, especially one-handed swords, and many other weapons actually. So I use this a lot, and I would highly recommend switching that to Q. Okay, so let's just go over some of the basics here, and if you're brand new to the game, this is what I would suggest. You just go to the arena, you go to practice, go to novice, and here you can input your name, change the way you look, things like that. You'll be basically naked at first if it's your first time. You can drag these clothes onto them over here and give them a weapon. So let's quickly go over kind of the basics of the controls. Now I'm going to have to fight this guy first, but let's just see how quickly we can handle him. Okay, alright, so we can go over the basics of combat now. Alright, so your basic movement though, when you are not in combat mode, your cursor is yellow, as you can see right here. If you press tab, it becomes red, changes to a circle. That indicates combat mode. Alright, so if you're in just exploration mode, we'll call it, you just right click and hold, and your character will move towards your cursor. The further away you are from the character, the faster they will move, as you can see here. Alright, you can also move with WASD, but what I do is I always use the mouse for movement unless I'm in combat mode. When it's time to fight, I press tab. Now I only use WASD. And basically anytime you press WAS or D, you will take essentially, I mean it's 2 steps, but it's essentially the distance of a step in whichever direction you press relative to where the cursor is. So my cursor is up here. If I press to the right and left, forward, backwards, pretty straightforward. If I move it over here, the same keys are going to move me in a different direction. That's W. That's not D, that's W. So you have to get used to that. But other than that, I mean... Oh, also, you can hold down right-click when you're in combat mode to run. Because sometimes you really do need to run. You can also hold down Shift, which adds even more to it. And of course, if you're in regular exploration mode, you can hold down Shift as well and get that extra speed there. Alright, so for the combat itself, the key for me anyway has always been that I focus on, when I was learning, I focused on always trying to counterattack. In other words, I would never, well, not never, I would try to never be the one who initiates the combat. I'd always wait for the enemy to swing, and then that creates an opening. That's usually how I do it. So I do a lot of stepping backwards and forwards, waiting for them to swing, and then when they swing, I step backwards, I start my attack and step forward. So to attack, you have to hold down the left mouse button, and then you can hold it down as long as you want. This will keep happening. Now that second attack is called a remise. It is a skill that you have to earn, basically, in the story mode. But in the novice arena, you have all the skills. Now it's not enough to just swing. You want to add momentum, you will actually do more damage. And there's 2 ways you can do it. The first way is to swing your mouse in the direction you would like to swing the blade. So hold it down and swing like that. So now my body turns and it adds momentum. A third way to add more momentum is as you're doing this, step into it if you can. And you can get some truly devastating blows if you do that. Another important thing is, if the cursor is to the right of my character, I will swing from the right. If it's to the left, you see I'll eventually switch my hand position. Now he's not doing it here. Let's see if we can get him to do it. See, now I'll go left to right if I swing from the left. If I swing from the right, I'll do right to left. If I go over here, now click and swing. Well, see, sometimes it doesn't always work. There it is. So that's something that took me a really long time to figure out, and I know I'm not demonstrating it well right now, but I'll show you in a real fight in a second. It's usually easier. Okay, so as for the main styles of attacks, you have your slashes, left and right. If you double click and hold the second click, it's an overhead. Overheads are devastating. To give more momentum, to make them more powerful, you crouch. Now, I have crouch bound to C, and it just occurred to me that that might not be the default. I think it is. But if crouch is not default C, I would recommend it. But anyway, as you swing, you have to time it right. You crouch into it. I was a little early. There we go, just like that. And that will add more force and do more damage. And then the alternate attack with Q, I can hold down Q and then hold down my left mouse button, and that'll stab. If you tap Q and then hold it down, it does the same thing. In other words, tap Q and then hold down the mouse button. But it has to happen sequentially usually, or just long enough to start the animation. There we go. Alright, so let's take on another fight. Also, by the way, if you double click here, you can, and press I to open your inventory, you can take their clothing, upgrade your stuff as you go. So let's just look at one more fight here. I want to keep this very short. So I can stab, I can overhead, I can right to left swing, I can left to right swing. Now I can also crouch during a swing, and I will hit someone's legs. Alright, now you can see there's lots of parrying going on. In order to parry, all you have to do is put your cursor in between your character and the striking part of the enemy's weapon. And it will usually parry it. Not always. I don't trust it. I really don't trust it. So I usually just try to dodge every attack. I don't like to parry. But if you have the riposte skill, when you parry, if you attack just as the blades connect when someone attacks you and you block it, you have a very, very fast counterattack. But again, you have to have that riposte skill. So again, I saved that kind of for the end here, the parrying thing, because I usually don't use it. But I'm not saying that that's a good thing. Many of my decisions are poor decisions. Let's go with one more fight here. So this guy has a shield. You can go left to right to kind of try to avoid the shield, like that. So I hit him that time, actually. Or you can go under the shield, which is something else I do, by swinging and then crouching during the swing. Now, that was an overhead, my bad. There we go. So we cut him right there in the ankle. Left to right. Now, I got really close there, so he couldn't do any damage, so that wasn't necessarily a bad thing to kind of clinch up. But you see, I wait for him to attack, then I step back, and then back in with the attack. And that's generally... Again, this is just how I play. I am by no means an expert or anything like that. Oh, lastly, I would also recommend you practice this. Hitting enemies while they're down. It's very rare that you're going to get that opportunity where you knock the enemy down but they're still alive, but it happens. And you basically want to do an overhead and crouch so that you can hit them. And it's sometimes hard to figure out the aiming. But generally speaking, wherever your cursor is, that's where it's going to hit. And you can also try crouching to hit that way, but it's usually not as devastating. But there is that option. So anytime the enemy goes down, make sure to try something like that. Okay, so that's just the basics of controls in combat. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe. I have tons and tons of Exanima Let's Play videos, and there's new ones coming out now all the time as the game gets updated. So if you like the game, the final thing I'd say is give it time. Spend some time in the novice arena. Just give it time. Keep trying to understand the controls, and eventually there will be a eureka moment. You will have an epiphany. It will make sense, and the game will become so much more fun. So thank you guys for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in some of my other Exanima videos.